Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm going to be showing you guys how I achieved this blonde. This is one of my best friends actually. She's in town from Florida for the holiday, so I was able to do her hair. We normally do her hair around twice a year, so just keep that in mind with how we go about things. I just like to be really conscious of her grow out so that, you know, she doesn't feel like she needs to get her hair touched up too soon. Today we normally do a lot of ribbons in her highlights. She loves like a bright contrasted ribbony look. And we still do that, but actually she wanted to add in a lot more of like a blended blonde with it as well and just get a lot more coverage in there also. So I kind of combined doing like more finer stitches with the ribbon stitches, if you will, too. So what I like to do is I section her off along her mohawk, and then I section out the two sides, and then I just leave the back as is too. I'll get to that later. And then I'm going to start off in the back of the mohawk. And what I pretty much do is starting off back here, I tease, I'd say about like halfway down. And then I go back and forth between doing a medium stitch, as you guys see right here, and then I also do a heavier stitch or a chunky stitch, whatever you want to call it. That'll be my next section. So along the back, I pretty much went back and forth. I don't want to say I did everything like one-to-one because I like to be pretty organic with my sectioning. It normally ends up being that way, but I don't like to like commit to a specific pattern if I don't have to. Like one highlight, one low light, or one thick stitch, one thinner stitch. So it almost always ends up being that way, but just to kind of help it be as organic as possible, I just kind of like to do my own thing and just do what I feel like the hair needs in that section. With these two, since we are doing heavier-ish stitches too, and they're not like fine baby lights, just be sure you're not making your sections too thick so that you still will get a clean, even lift. I still wanted to make sure that I got to a clean level 9 at a fairly decent amount of time, so I wanted to make sure I did that without having to use super high of a developer of Lightener too. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And yeah, so actually speaking of Lightener, so what I used was my typical go-to. I used Oligo's Extra Blonde and Cool Tone Blonde. I mixed it 1-to-1, and then I started off with 15 volume, and then I worked my way up to 30. So here in the front, while I'm doing the money piece, so we like a bright blended money piece. We don't want it to be like a thick stripe, at least not on her. So what I did was I took very fine slices, and I just barely backcombed each section. And right these first most sections right along the hairline, that's where I kind of did slices. And then as I worked my way back, I did very fine baby light. So I left just a little bit in between. Just because, like I said, I feel like with brunettes, if you do a lot of slicing, as it grows out, it just kind of grows out weird. So I feel like if you do a mix of baby lights with slices, it helps the grow out to be a little softer. That's just me. Obviously, you can customize this to however you need and the client needs, but that's just how I like to do it myself. So that's kind of what I did here. And like I said, like these baby lights are very small. You can barely see any leave out in between them, but it just kind of helps to diffuse it just a little bit. And then as I worked my way back, I also increased my tease just ever so slightly to kind of help to mimic that teardrop root, if you will, where it's very high up right in the frontmost, and then as I work my way to the back, it just kind of increases slightly. Diego's sleeping beside me, so if you hear him breathing a little bit, that's probably what it is, in case of the microphone picks that up. But anyway, yeah, I just kind of worked my way back and increased my weave a little bit as I went back, and then I increased my tease just a little bit as I went back too. And as you guys can kind of see, I kind of piggyback going back and forth between the left and the right. And then when I'm ready to end my money piece, then I break it all off all together and I go off in the middle, and that kind of is like the transitional piece between the money piece and everything else. So I feel like that's very important for me. I feel like it helps to keep things very fluid, is having that like break off section, if you will, where it just kind of helps to, it's very transitional. So what I like to do in these more transitional pieces is I like to kind of increase my root a little bit, or increase my tease just a little bit, so that it kind of helps to really like stop that money piece to and then it kind of goes off into everything else. Along the sides, I kind of do the same thing for the most part, especially these hairline pieces. I treat the hairline all over like a money piece. So the sides and even the back is still considered the money piece to me. So I'm doing very fine slices, and then as you guys can just see, I just did a very fine weave right there. And I just kind of worked my way up throughout the sides. And then what I kind of do, you guys will see me doing here in a second, is I'm going to kind of like piggyback or not piggyback necessarily. I'm going to pretty much bricklay and still make my sections along my hairline are still going to be very fine. But then you guys are going to see right here for these more interior most sections is where I'm going to kind of do those thicker chunks, so that I'm doing a mix of a bright blended blonde with still those ribbon panels. So it kind of helps to give her the best of both, and helps everything, again, stay fluid with that mohawk sectioning as well. So I just kind of do that all the way up. I just kind of work my way, and I go along section wise. I just go along with the growth pattern too. I don't have like a necessary like sectioning rule. I just kind of see what else is, you know, what needs covered next. So if I kind of like right along here, as you guys kind of see, I just kind of work my way back to back all the way up, and then once I feel like I need to break that off and do a piece in the interior, then I'll do that then too. I don't have a very strict pattern when it comes to that, so I'm sorry if that's what you're looking for. Going along the growth pattern just is what helps me the most personally. I'm very detailed when it comes to my lightening, so it might take me a little bit longer, but it helps me achieve the results I need to achieve. So just kind of do this all the way along the sides.
Don't stop, shit ain't gon' feed you. I've been all on my grind, so why I need you? Big flex, my swole up. Double cup and I'm pulled up. Niggas hating like hold up. What's the problem? I'm pulled up. Big flex, my swole up. Hard body, they fold up. Shawty say I done glowed up. Double text on my phone up. Fuck with your boy, I'm the man of the year. I'm not a fan of your peers. Serve him a fate, I'ma hand him the shears. He not the man of your peers. Heart of a lion, I'm trampling fears. I love the man in the mirror. Cry me a river to stand in the tears. You better stand in the clear. I'm going crazy, niggas fugazi. How are they ever gon' fuck with a kid? Put it on, baby, it do not faze me. Boy, I do not give a fuck what you did. Eating that kitty, she stuck to my rib. How can I trust him? He fuck with the pigs. Bro got a Glock and a couple of C's. He think about splitting a couple of wigs. Shotty my DNA, all real, nigga. Sweatsuit, all heel figure. And I ain't even gotta deal with you. If I ain't never split a bill with you. I got Hennessy and horchata. Baby girl wearing nada. Ass growing from a cider. Bathrobe in his Prada. Fiji water by the cold glass. Granddaddy by the Ziploc. Flex season, I'm road running. I'm staying all on my tip top. Young man with an old mind, so I ain't worried about slight shit. I be up till sunrise. I'm staying out on my night shift. I got a bottle of bourbon, a bundle of honeys. I'm jiggy, I'm flexing a bit. Figured I hit it and quit it. I'm busy. I ain't got the minutes for texting a bitch. Came from the gutter with me and my brother. I'm moving my mother right out of the city. Bitch, I'm a star and they know I go hard, so I'm kissing them babies and signing them titties. Gold blinging like Chingo. Rock star like Ringo. Checks coming in back to back. I'ma line them up like.
All right, now in the back, this is pretty much the same thing as well as what I did all over. So these topmost sections, I did do a mix of finer weaves to thicker weaves. But then when I go into the interior part of the back, one, I think just because we normally did pretty much all ribbons in the past, and two, I think just since it's been 6 months, she had quite a bit more depth in her interior. So I wanted to brighten it and give her a lot more coverage, but with what she wanted, it really was kind of counterintuitive to do thinner weaves in those sections. So I still took thinner sections, but I did pretty much more of the thicker stitches in the back. I felt like that was going to give her the most coverage with me not having to be, you know, lightening baby light to baby light to baby light back to back. I did make my leave outs were a little bit thicker, again, to kind of help to just make it as natural and organic as possible. But yeah, I don't really, at this point, I kind of stopped doing the thinner stitches and I just did all of like the thicker ones.
Baby girl love my bop and unlike me too. No roof on my top and my babe see through. Hating on the pen, don't stop, shit ain't gon' feed you. I've been all on my grind, so why I need you.
And then this is everything all foiled up. As you guys can see, some of her dark most pieces that were like becoming more of a level 8, I did tip them out dry at the bowl, or at the chair, I'm sorry. But then all together, everything, I do a balayage at the bowl as well. So I don't do this on everybody, just kind of based on who needs it. Now, like I said, she is from Florida now, so I do feel like the sun does kind of dull out her blonde over time. I feel like her ends were kind of becoming more of a level, like a very dark 9, a lighter level 8. So we do still do a warm blonde on her, but I just wanted to make sure that everything was, like the cuticle was opened up, there was no buildup or anything on there, and just to make sure everything was bright and ready to be toned. This does not need to sit on for long, as you guys can see. Like, it's gonna take, by the time that I'm actually finished applying everything, it's gonna pretty much be ready to rinse out. So be careful when you're doing this. Don't let it sit on for too long, especially because I know she is a level 9 underneath all of her, you know, the buildup and the sun and all of that stuff that kind of darkened her up over time. So just watch it, and once it feels like it seems like it's ready, then rinse it. I'd say the longest to leave it on, I've done it before where I've gone to the back and I've rinsed, you know, mixed up my root and my toner for my clients. And I'd say at that point, that's a good time to rinse it off. The point when you're doing a balayage is for a quicker way to brighten up a already dull blonde. So if someone is too dark to the point that you feel like they need to sit longer than 10-15, I'd say 15 max minutes personally. Then in my opinion, it might work out easier if you do something at the chair with, like, you don't necessarily have to use dryer hair, but when I do a balayage, it's more of like a quick service, in my opinion. Do what works best for you, but that's just my opinion with it. And like I said, like you guys, we can see now too, look how much brighter her ends look too. And I think it took me maybe 5 minutes to apply it, and then that means it only sat for 5 minutes. I did though too. I used Oligo's, I used just their extra blonde, and I did their 30 volume developer too, because I knew that would lift it quickly so that it wouldn't have to sit on forever. And then as you guys can see too, I just put in the 4-in-1 moisture mask from Olaplex, and I run that all the way through, and I use that as, 1, I do it as a treatment, and 2, I have it help me detangle my teas. So for me personally, with all of my lightening services, I do include a treatment of some sort. It's 9 times out of 10, it's either the Olaplex 4-in-1 or it is their number 2, just whatever I feel like the hair needs. And I use that to help me run out the teas. And then I also just like to include a treatment for everybody. And I just include that with my pricing one too. So I actually still have the treatment on as I am doing her root tap and her toner. I just feel like, again, like the longer it's able to sit on, the better. And I feel like it also helps everything process evenly too, because obviously since her hair was just recently, especially since her ends too, were just lightened too, it kind of helps act as like a buffer, I guess, to tone everything without making it overtoned or anything. So her root, I did Oligo Pro Calura Gloss, 5N, 5NB, and 6A, all equal parts. And I did more of a teardrop root, so I made it a little bit longer in the back, and then I brought it up a little bit higher up front. And then on her ends toner, I did Calura Gloss again. I did 9GI, 9N, a smidge of 9AI just to knock out any extra warmth if there was any, and then 9G. And I did their lotion developer too. And I just let that sit. So again, the Olaplex 4-in-1 is still on in this point too. And it all works best together, in my opinion. You can use any mask. You can also use regular conditioner too. But I really like doing this, especially on more porous blondes. I feel like anything just kind of helps act as a buffer, and any blonde can not have too many treatments. So I'd say do whatever you think that their hair needs, and just kind of go from there. And yeah, I recommend you trying it sometime, because I feel like my clients love it then too, because everyone's hair feels great and has so much shine and looks great and all that in between. So, and here is the finished look straight. You can see we have a mix of a lot more of a blended blonde, but yeah, she still has those pops in there. The money piece is nice and blended, and it's there, but it's not too thick. And I will say the lighting's a little darker in here. It definitely was a little bit brighter and warmer, but the sun was setting when I was doing this, so we love daylight savings time because it was like 5 o'clock, so I don't know why the sun was setting so quickly. But anyway, this is how everything looks. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something new. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
No roof on my top and my babe see through. Hating on a pen, don't style, shit ain't gon' feed you. I've been all on my grind, so why I need you.